What is going on, Saints? Happy Pajama Day. I'm Jack Plummer.
And I'm Eli Highland. Welcome back to SFHS Today.
We're going to start you guys off for the week with some national news.
With issues concerning the government, the Senate is considering two competing bills that propose a funding for the government following its shutdown on December 22nd of last year.
The Senate held a competing vote last Thursday on President Trump's proposal to spend $5.7 billion on the wall and also on Democratic bill that would fund the government till February 8th without a wall.
This competing bill will be the first time the Senate has tried to diminish the shutdown.
Last weekend, the March for Life rally took place in Washington, D.C. One of our students, Brandon Eichens, had the opportunity to go.
So what did you do at the March for Life?
So for the first part of the March for Life, there was the rally in which I and the group that I went with, which was the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis, which was just a whole bunch of churches combined through the Archdiocese that went there for the March for Life. And for the first part of it, we went to the March for Life rally, which there was a band playing at first, and then there was a bunch of speakers that spoke, such as Ben Shapiro was there. Vice President was the surprise guest that people at the rally didn't even know about. But then for the second part of it was the actual march, where we moved from the rally onto the streets and marched by the Capitol.
Then I heard you went to the Senate building and you gave a speech.
Yes, I and some of my other supporters, we went into the Senate building and we were going to be giving speeches to Amy Klobuchar and one of the other Minnesotan representatives. I can't remember her name, but they were not there, and so we just gave them a speech, or their aides and secretaries a speech that we had originally planned, and then we also had a list of the things that we wanted to see accomplished, and we gave that list to them.
And then how does it feel being a part of such a huge event?
It was kind of nerve-wracking at first, because when I was there was hundreds of thousands of people. I think this was the biggest march that I've heard of in most recent years. At least there's talk about it. So there could have been close to around 1 million people. And just from going to the rally and walking out onto the streets, it took about half an hour because of how many people there was.
Following up on the accident of Kaya Bowman and Annie Lamont, they are now resting safely in their homes with help of first responders on scene. They both saved my daughter's life, said Kaya's mom.
The first responders, Samantha Stewart and Adam Klinkner, were awarded by Police Chief Todd Schweiger and were given the department's Citizens Award. As we said last week, with the reins of superintendent being handed over to Beth Geese, she will be taking over on July 1st.
Paige Aldrich went to go talk with some people who were part of the process.
How does the process of picking a new superintendent work?
I was blessed enough, I guess you could say, to be a part of the process. There was individual groups of people that were chosen or invited to be a part of the interview process from all of the different job categories within the district. So teachers, licensed staff, support staff, which was really good to have a wide array of people involved.
Basically, I just got to listen in on the interview, so they explained what they've done in other school districts, and they talked about their personal stuff, like how they view they can affect our school district, and all of us were able to ask questions whenever we wanted, and they could answer them however they wanted to, and it gave us a lot of good information.
And then we had interviews with each individual candidate. They were about an hour, hour and a half long, where we asked questions that we had picked out as staff that we felt were important. And so we got to ask those questions on 3 different nights. All 3 applicants were really actually phenomenal. It was a tough decision. I'm sure the school board had a very tough decision to make. Mrs. Beth, she was just a wonderful interviewee, and she'll really be great for the district.
Let's get into another segment, something that Tommy Ficasello and John Sigfrinius have been working on over the last couple of months.
SFHS's very own Pet of the Week.
This week, the boys will introduce to us Stella, the Chihuahua.
I'm Tommy Ficasello.
I'm Cody Kolb.
We're in Stella the Chihuahua today.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Stella is 1 year old. She's a teacup Chihuahua. We got her from a farm down in Iowa when we were at my grandma's house. I have 2 dogs, Ranger and Stella. When we first got her, she would pee all over the house, so that wasn't fun. Sometimes I'll be laying on the couch and she'll go under my blanket or whatever, and I'll get up and not even knowing that she's under there. So she just kind of falls on the ground. Stella and Ranger get along pretty well. For instance, sometimes I'll walk upstairs and Stella will be jumping at them and biting them. I guess she's a good people dog. She likes to cuddle and just hang out with us. She doesn't really bark that much, but when she does bark, it's normally when a new person walks in the door.
Thanks for that, guys.
For this week of 5 Minutes of Fame, we have a group that is unnoticed but not unappreciated. The group that always shows up to sporting events to add to the spirit of St. Francis.
This week, we're going to give you guys some insight on the school's pep band.
Student celebrities everywhere, this is why you should care about 5 Minutes of Fame.
So, we all know that 5 Minutes of Fame can be a person, but this week we decided to take a different spin on it and interview people about pep band. We interviewed the people who play in pep band, the band teacher, super fans, and people who play at our games the pep band play. And here's our story.
So the pep band performs at sporting events throughout the year. We perform at football games, girls soccer, boys soccer, basketball, hockey, and we just perform in the stands before the game and during halftime and then during timeouts.
I enjoy that they come out and I enjoy their support.
Pep band's really fun. You can interact with your friends and just have a good time.
So students in band are required to do 2 pep bands per trimester. So we can have anywhere between 40 to 60 or 70 students per game.
I feel like it's good for the arts to support the sports, and also it's good for the sports to support the arts too, so it's nice having them there.
You're required to go to 2 pep band events, which could be the hockey games, whatever.
So since all the band students perform in pep band at one time or another, it's all the band instruments, clarinets, flutes, trumpets, trombone, percussion, all the band instruments.
Well, from all of us here at SFHS Today, have a fantastic week, Saints.
And be sure to tune in next week. Now to finish it off, let's send it over to RQT and Sports.
It's the random question thing, ding.
Hey Saints, I'm Nathan Atkinson. Welcome back to sports. Girls basketball had a relatively uneventful week with only one game on Thursday at Cambridge Isanti, a game that ended in a 49-52 loss for the Saints. Last Wednesday, boys basketball had their first game of the week at Forest Lake and fell 61-67 to the Rangers. After that game, the boys hosted conference rivals Cambridge Isanti. Gymnastics hosted North Branch for an invite on Thursday, which resulted in a Saints triumph. Then on Saturday, the Saints traveled to Cambridge Isanti for another invite. Wrestling had their conference meet at Cambridge Isanti last Friday. With the wrestling season wrapping up, I went out to talk to senior Kyle Lindenfelser and freshman Ken Hollenbeck to compare the two. SF Wrestling has so many good wrestlers that it was hard to decide who we should do a package on this week. So I decided to jump in and do a package on Kyle Lindenfelser and Ken Hollenbeck. What weight class do you wrestle in?
I wrestle 220.
How many years have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling for 14 years.
And what grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
What weight class do you wrestle in?
I wrestle 113.
How many years have you been wrestling?
I believe this is my 4th year, so pretty much a new.
And what grade are you in?
I'm in 9th grade.
What has been your season highlight so far?
Probably pinning the 9th ranked kid in the state in 40 seconds.
What has been your season highlight so far?
Definitely my varsity wins. Never actually won varsity or even been on varsity.
What have been your goals for the season?
Just to get better all around.
What's the difference between your goals from your freshman year versus this year?
Well, my goals freshman year were to survive, and right now they're just kind of do the best I can.
What were your goals heading into the season?
Honestly, I didn't really have goals.
What's your favorite thing of wrestling?
Just kind of winning. I like to win.
What's your favorite part of wrestling?
I think it's just the competitions because those can be very fun.
What do you do in the off season to prepare for wrestling?
Lift weights. Football helps with the conditioning part.
What do you do in the off season?
I just do other sports or work at home.
Do you have anything else you want to throw in there? Any humble brag, I guess? Act like you're telling a story, like, yeah, went undefeated in a tournament. Whatever.
I blew an olive out of my nose like 10 minutes ago.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that could go.
How big was the olive though?
It was I bit it in half and I swallowed it and went up into my sinuses, like wrong tube, only up kind of deal. Yeah, it was an ordeal.
Over the break, girls hockey traveled to play conference rivals North Wright County and fell to the Riverhawks with a score of 0-5. Then on Friday, the Saints hosted Osseo Park Center for their senior night game. Checking can be very dangerous in hockey for players. Reporter Peyton Beadle went out to learn more about the dangers of checking.
What are some of the dangers being checked from behind or boarded?
There are many dangers from being checked from behind. They include concussion and being paralyzed. Concussions can take a few weeks to years depending on the severity. And being paralyzed, it affects you the rest of your life.
What are some of the things hockey players should watch out for?
Always being aware of your surroundings when you're going up to the boards and keeping your head up when playing.
As a coach, do you agree with the new USA Hockey rule forcing players to wait until Bantams to start checking?
It's a tough question in a way because some people could argue that if we teach proper body contact at a younger age, they might be better prepared for it. So I know personally it might be difficult to have players learn checking at an older age when, especially in boys hockey, players are developing at much different levels, size of the player, and older, same age kids might be much bigger or much smaller than each other. So might even be better to look at doing it at a younger age.
Is checking from behind and boarding a big problem in boys high school hockey?
I'd say it used to be until Jack Jablonski was injured, and it's definitely dropped significantly since then, where we don't have as many issues with it. But any contact, check from behind or boarding is always a dangerous play. So it's something that we like to talk to our players about reducing and being aware of.
Do you think hockey players should be taught correctly how to give and receive a check?
Yes, I think learning correct form and technique is very important, but also even more important is how to take a check and be able to protect your own body in that situation.
Boys hockey also played a game over the break away against Southwest Christian High School. The game resulted in a 1-3 loss for the Saints. Last Thursday, the Saints hosted conference rivals North Branch for a game that resulted in a 2-5 loss for the Saints. Rounding off their busy week, the Saints hosted another conference rival on Saturday, playing Cambridge Isanti. On Thursday, Alpine Skiing had their only meet of the week at Trollhagen. Rounding off the week for sports, Saints traveled to Blaine on Saturday for an invite. That's all I have for you this week, Saints.